Good morning, fam. This is Rain from the YouTube channel This Big Life. Welcome to Mindful Mondays. I told you I would see you back in the States next week. We, in this series, journey deep down the rabbit hole into concepts that I am studying for self-discovery and self-actualization. As always, I am not pulling from my original ideas or concepts. With all that being said, let's go. So, full disclaimer, I just came back from seeing the movie Ford versus Ferrari, which is the best movie of the year. I honestly feel like it's the best movie I've seen in like several years, actually. So I'm sorry if people were like super into Joker being the best movie of the year. Ford versus Ferrari definitely just beat it out for me. And it got me thinking on this really interesting topic about real life purpose. Like, this was the kind of movie that was like, why did I not grow up racing go-karts, you know? And then I remembered that I actually used to build go-karts in carpentry class at summer camp. It was like my favorite thing to do. So maybe that's why I like it. Maybe I was just supposed to be racing cars. I wanted to go down this rabbit hole of life purpose. It's $1 million industry question. And really it should be just as simple as asking ourselves like a few key, really simple questions. But a lot of the times the subject, it fills us with dread and apprehension and insecurity and doubt and suspicion even, and self-deprecating analysis and option paralysis, you know? And I really think it's only because of how we are looking at that posed question of what is my life purpose. Like, we could be looking at it completely backwards. If you haven't been someone who's paid thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the life purpose and the self-development industry, I'm sure you've paid your fair share in time with things like reading books or articles or plenty of online quizzes there to help you too. And time is a very valuable currency. Probably the most valuable. And if you're using it for quizzes online to, you know, figuring out the great life mysteries, like what color is my heart? Or what Harry Potter Patronus am I? Or what is my IQ? What is my Myers-Briggs profile? Or what career should I have? Or better yet, what Full House character am I? Going to tell me a lot about myself. And my favorite, what is the first letter of the first name of my soulmate and what is their colored hair? C, J, M, and dirty blonde. So, lucky for you, my experience stretches between both categories. My Patronus was some like dog, and I fluctuate between being an ENFJ, an INFJ, an ENTJ, and an ESFP. And I have paid a lot of money to do really crazy things in the jungle. I have. The irony in all of this is how much I was reaching outside of myself for answers that could really only be answered within the confines of my very own deep and personal inner truth, and you know, be guided through spiritual intervention, and then only affirmed by my environment, not led by my environment. Because I mean, you should try this, or you should be this, or I should be that conversation that was not working anymore. It was not working anymore. Eventually, when I reflected on the personal path that I had taken in life, I noticed this subtle orchestration that was sort of singing in my memory. These small little puzzle pieces started coming together. You know, it wasn't the retreat that I took. It wasn't an online course. It wasn't a quiz or some like deliberateness in chasing one specific passion that was self-fulfilling and had nothing to do with being of value to the world, to being able to help the world. It was because all these other experiences, they were way too loud. They were too loud for me to really figure out the points and the keys of the truth of what this puzzle was. There's a TED Talk by this guy, and it was just like a small TED Talk, but his name is Adam Leipzig. He never said it in the speech, so I actually don't know how he pronounces it. But in his speech in Malibu, he said that on Amazon, there are, I'm finding the number, 151,928 books out there about how to find your life purpose. And he also had a really interesting point. I'm going to let him say it to you himself.
I know some people who have spent their entire lives trying to learn their life purpose. And look, we can all agree that the unexamined life is not worth living. But if all you're doing is examining, you're not living.
I'm going to give you some examples of what clues started to dance in my memory. When I was doing something that I actually enjoyed, and I'm not concerned about anything other than the fact that I enjoy doing it, that I like doing it. And then I started hearing things like, when you did or said that thing, Rain, it really helped me. Or, I really recognized you doing that work. It was really cool to watch. Or you're just blossoming when you're doing this. You're so good at it. Okay, so these are like little things, like little inconsequential things, but that is what I am talking about. It's the little pieces, the little puzzle pieces. It's the little clues that only I could know. Whether or not I'm an INFJ or an ADD PHATRTFL. I'm not gonna get my answers from the outside. Life purpose and passion, it isn't about could be's. It's about doing things first and then finding out later. It's about doing things first and finding out later. Now, why is this important? Why did this movie tee me off to wanting to talk about this? Oh, that was such a good movie. Okay, anyway, it's the concept of what bears fruit in your life, and making the distinction about what that really means. Interestingly, I know this is gonna feel really good for a lot of people to hear, but bearing fruit doesn't always mean this like majestic choreography with life that reaps total dividends, materialistic things like high rankings and friends in high places and a big group of approving friends, which are all just the second, third, and the fourth level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those things don't even get you to self-actualization, safety, esteem, and belonging. That's it. But bearing fruit in that perspective of true self-actualization, things are in harmony, where you went after what you unapologetically liked, whatever the calling was. Speaker, teacher, dentist, ice cream maker, car racer. And then there was an outer resonance where the world reflected back to you that you were now in fact a part of a working ecosystem where you were successfully helping the people around you in some way. So a couple of things I want to clarify with that being said. First of all, money isn't bad. It's good and it's helpful. But if it is your only driving force that is motivating you to do the things that you're doing for the long haul, I can't guarantee that the initial passion that the success brings is going to last. Like maybe it will, but I can't guarantee it. Another thing is that callings and purpose can change. I was counting, and since I've graduated, I've had like 9 different career jobs. I was from executive assistant to website designer to a sales consultant to customer service manager to human resources to hospitality to food and beverage, and now a bona fide farm entrepreneur and a content creator. These things are not straightforward. And if you feel like you haven't figured out what you want to do before going full launch into it, sometimes that's because things don't really work that way. For example, the small farm that I have now, in college, I volunteered and did freelance marketing for a woman in Flagstaff, Arizona who had a really small boutique cacao chocolate Mayan cafe. And I did it because I liked the idea of chocolate and I liked the idea of offering my time and my services pro bono at the time. Years later, I signed on as the personal assistant to a guy named Jeremy Saffron when I was living on Maui. And he was a pioneer in the raw food movement. And he was the one who actually introduced raw cacao to the raw food market. And then later, I was one of the first administration employees for the company Urban Remedy, which was like an all organic food company. And they were pioneers in the industry. And our strategy was to focus on the individual benefits of individual ingredients. And cacao was a major ingredient in some of our key products. Here's another example. When I was young, I was a really smooth dancer. I mean, like not really, but like I had the 4 steps forward and the 4 steps back and like the fossy twirl. I had that down in preschool. And then through life's extreme conditions that I subjected myself to, I forgot about that little girl. And now that I'm choosing to be single in order to know myself first, and my days aren't as chaotic and full of noise, I'm remembering that little girl. But it's more like that little girl is remembering me. Like I knew I always liked to sing. Like I knew I liked to sing. But randomly bursting out into dance? No. Like I had forgotten about that little girl. And unplugging this external noise in order to get that back is what I mean about not listening to the external. You know, it's a very natural state, purpose and calling. It is a very naturally intrinsic state because our true self, you know, our purpose, it's eternal, it's dependable, it's not going away. Even if it fluctuates, even if it changes, you know, who we are exists. Like, I don't think you're gonna see me in the Nutcracker anytime soon, but it's been thrilling to get back in touch with this small piece of myself. And she wasn't like dusty and like chained up to a closet somewhere. She was always there. She was just waiting. And I just had to create space and quiet again to let her find me. I'm just like following the impulses of my body and not even thinking about it. You don't find your purpose. Your purpose, it finds you. So, recapping with like my job careers and all the different things that I've done, like it was never like a key direction. It was more of a combination of like, where was I being drawn to in the moment, and to improve what for who? How can I be of service to where I am right now? And is it interesting to me? It's a valid question, and it's not selfish to ask, because the alignment is important. And now that I'm sort of debunking all these mistruths about what I should be or what I should do, there's a clarification process happening. Purpose and passion, they sometimes find you after you jump in and just say yes to an option. And the will to pursue higher expressions of yourself will get you there. Showing up, being a creative problem solver, being generous within your circumstances, being generous with your time, being kind, showing grace, remembering that your mission and your career is bigger than you are, not primarily because they're going to have the biggest return on investment, which is only a factor in this sort of faith game that we're playing, right? Just having that faith. You need to have income, but just be aware if the money is causing tunnel vision, because it could be a source of unhappiness. It could be a source of why you're so unhappy. Not assuming that you are, I'm just saying in the context, if you are unhappy. Or it could be separating you from the people around you, and you don't have the ability to balance that and be present for the people around you who matter. Or you make unhealthy decisions, like giving the last of your money that's in your savings account away to some coach who's going to teach you how to make money. True story. YOLO. Hey, I did it so I could tell you. Well, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I did it so you could know what it's like to do it. And I'm not here to tell you that the path is wrong. I am here to tell you that this is what I found out. If you are happy and you're content, then maybe you're clued into more of what your life purpose is than you realize. I mean, the truth is we're really, really hard on ourselves. We drive ourselves way too hard. Purpose and calling, it's a natural state, and you just have to know that it exists. And it exists at a constant. And our calling, they come in all shapes and all sizes and all categories and all timelines. And the clues of what your calling is to be acknowledged and recognized by you. And then you can give life the opportunity to whisper back to you that like, hey, you're doing the right thing, for now even, which is all that matters. There was never supposed to be. I was supposed to reach this milestone by the time I was 25 or 30 or 50. It doesn't exist, because ultimately it was never really about where you stacked up in the proverbial rat race. Life purpose is an ecosystem, and you're only going to know your place and part in it when you start doing. And if you're not sure where to start for the money, and then stay for the glow up, and leave for your next calling. That was the only fruit that life purpose was meant to bear. It is your poetic relationship with life. So maybe instead of asking questions framed in a certain way, what is my career title? Who is my demographic? How do I make money doing this? When do I become successful? Ask instead, who am I helping by doing something that I like? How can I help them better? And what can I strive for as an outcome of my helping? Man, I don't know if I'm gonna help people by racing cars, but like, I'm a pretty good driver, and I feel like I finally understand why. Like, maybe I'm just supposed to race cars, but I guess I won't know until I try. It was such a good movie. That's the last time I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it anymore. That's it for Mindful Monday, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And if there's any other topics that you would like covered in Mindful Mondays, let me know in the comments below. I would love to cover these topics for you. Much love. See you guys next week. See you out there.